Judge Tanya Chutkan is ready to get moving on Donald Trump's January 6th case. And I know what you're thinking. That's still a thing? I know it's been a while. It has been 8 months since we've heard anything coming out of this. And the reason is the Supreme Court decided to take absolutely forever to deeply ponder whether presidents should be kings and should be immune from prosecution. So now we know that they're mostly kings. And so now the cases can try to grapple with the consequences of that and maybe get things moving. Now, maybe they'll go away, we'll have to see, but Chutkan got it back from the Supreme Court and is now trying to decide in conjunction with the legal teams of both sides, what happens next. And so there's an August 16th conference that is scheduled to chart the course for handling a number of different unresolved issues in the case. And I believe tomorrow they're gonna be doing some sort of hearing about how both teams want the immunity to affect the case. So they do that, then it'll take a little bit of time for Chutkan to consider and eventually make some sort of valuation. And then in theory, that could be appealed to the Supreme Court, but we are at least moving and we have a couple of events that have been scheduled. So it starts basically on Saturday. Chutkan rejected Donald Trump's motion to dismiss the federal charges on the January 6th case, which he based on the Supreme Court's broad interpretation of presidential immunity. So that's a good starting place. Now, again, it doesn't mean that this case couldn't be killed by the new monarchy that we have in America, but at least as of right now, Chutkan is making the move to say that it shouldn't be.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
And so Joyce Vance, former US attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, wrote that both sides must file a brief outlining how the case should proceed. Quote, if they cannot agree, she has asked them to file a document with each side making its own statement, and we should expect that they will not agree. This one is interesting because its centerpiece should be the parties' joint or separate ideas for how to determine what impact the Supreme Court's decision on presidential immunity will have on the charges prosecutors can continue to bring and the evidence they will be able to use. So that is interesting. The main other thing that I want to talk about here that I find fascinating is, look, obviously in this case and in the others, what we fundamentally want at the end of the day, if we're not like a MAGA person who wants him to be, totally above the law, is we want justice. We want to know what happened and we want there to be consequences if consequences are merited. But to get to the justice and to get to the consequences, we need to know what happened. And obviously there's a lot that we know. I mean, we witnessed the event, we heard the speeches, we saw the social media posts, but there's almost certainly a lot that we don't know. And one of the reasons why these cases being sort of sidelined, especially for 8 months, especially during an election, has seemed so utterly unjust is we deserve to know what else there is. Are there communications that we don't know about? Are there directives? Like, are there meetings? We don't know. We deserve to know. The American people deserve to know. I know that most MAGA people don't want to know, but I think they deserve to know. They deserve to know who this guy is and what he did during one of the darkest moments in American history. And interestingly, we might actually find out, not because the whole case will go forward. Even if it does, it's almost certainly going to take a long time. They succeeded into delaying it to the point where we better hope that Donald Trump loses or else we'll probably get no justice there. But there's this thing that they're now considering called a mini trial, wherein to help evaluate some of the difficult, almost philosophical questions about how to interpret this most recent ruling by the Supreme Court, we could have, yes, Skittlebot is talking about in the chat, pre-trial evidentiary hearings, basically a test run of what evidence would you provide. And there's a couple of reasons you'd want to do that. I'm no lawyer, obviously, as I always say, I share that with Alina Habba. But to my understanding, to be able to accurately determine whether this will comply with the new Supreme Court ruling, whether the evidence should be able to be put forward, well, you have this pre-trial run so that you can evaluate that. We need to know what the defense and the prosecution are going to do. And it is possible that all of that will be behind closed doors and we won't know about it. But maybe it won't. And maybe in time for it to affect voters, we'll know what actually happened. And I know what you're thinking. Well, John, you have TDS or whatever. You're just hoping that like something damning will come out. And yes, guilty as charged, like Donald Trump. I do want damning stuff to come out because I think that it exists. But there could be exculpatory evidence. There could be secret communiques where Donald Trump says that he desperately hopes that there's no violence. This would be a great opportunity for that to be revealed to the American people. Now, I don't think that that actually exists, and I don't think that that's gonna happen. But in theory, it could. And here's an opportunity for people to actually find out about it. And so, look, tomorrow we have the one hearing. On the 16th, we have another. We'll see how long it takes for both the legal teams to adapt to all that and for Judge Chutkan to do something coming out of it. But at least the wheels are starting to move. They're covered in a thick layer of rust and all that, but we're getting a little bit of motion. And this is, after all, maybe the most important case. There's a lot of ones that are spicy or exciting or important or distressing, but this one is about the coup. We deserve to know what actually happened. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.